I think the painter has to paint from the bottom of the heart, but without self-consciousness. And it's a fine line, but it is possible not to be thinking about yourself, but to be working from your emotions. There were two things that engaged me early on. One was sort of making shapes and applying colour to those shapes. And the other was a narrative. They're all story paintings. So they're soldiers in battles or they're princesses being rescued. They were all stories. And we were allowed to have a pretty much unsupervised experience with paint, ceramics, and that is what I spent an enormous amount of time doing at that age. The person I was 15 or 20 or 30 or 40 years ago as a painter is still very much the same person, because I haven't solved the answers to the questions that make me want to paint. What is it about? What's underneath this experience of living? And something to do with color and light is in the answer, but I have to find it for myself. And it's very, very enigmatic. When you start painting, right at the beginning, I remember thinking that the object of the painting is to convince the viewer that the experience that I'm describing is real. After a while, that isn't enough, and you start to think, well, actually, I want to say something about the experience of being in this landscape or painting this figure. And so I'm going to make different sorts of brush marks, or I'm going to make more expressive brush marks, or I'm going to use colors that I feel I want to use, but they're not ones I can actually see. And so all the time, the goalposts are changing because you're asking yourself or expecting yourself to dig out answers that are more philosophical and much more about how you want to express your feelings than what you're actually looking at. There's kind of an explosion in one's mind, and suddenly there's a painting. There's something about the relationship of small shapes to larger shapes, of half tones to dark tones, to luminosity, opacity, transparency, all these things, you suddenly see them, and it's a kind of eureka moment. Often painters can't express verbally why they're making this painting or what it is they're seeking to achieve. They know at a deep level that they have to do it and they're looking for something, but if they could find the answer or if they could articulate it, then probably they would be, maybe writing poems or something rather than painting. I think it never quite allows itself to be described in words, the process. Because I think painting, to be striking, has to have something revelatory about it. As the viewer, you look at the painting and it must reveal something that might not otherwise occur to you, or you might not otherwise be aware of. And it's that revelatory quality that engages a kind of long-term affection for a picture, I think. I think one of the reasons I like painting landscape is that sometimes I feel that in the landscape, as other people might feel climbing a mountain or, being in a remote space. I think the paintings that have worked best over the years have been the ones where I've been able to get closest to that sense of otherworldliness. Even if you're painting a bunch of objects on a table, there are times when those objects and the way they relate to each other and their light and their color, there are times when those objects become a spiritual experience. When I listen to music, I am transported. Music has a transcendental quality that takes me away from the here and now and puts me in a different space, and it puts me in a space where I can access my relationship with color. They're very gentle paintings. I think that's the thing that's most in my mind. I want something very soft, very gentle, very consoling. So the viewer looks at these paintings and perhaps feels better about being alive. I mean, I think they represent me in this particular genre of romantic figure painting. I think they represent me as I would like to be seen. It was just absolutely natural for me. It's always been, wherever I've lived, to make a garden. Color and shape are the things that I try to create in the garden. I think about the color. I mean, this bed here is all about pink, different pinks juxtaposed against the rusty reds of the helianthus, those permanent sunflowers there. And it's the kind of thing that I might be considering in a painting.
You have gotten to that point where you have established yourself as a representational painter with your own style, whether the influence are coming from Bonnat, or they're coming from Vuillard, or they're coming from Monet, or they're coming from the Pointilliste, huh? But it's more your ability to stay modern with your color and with the manner in which you paint. I think there are very few representational figurative painters who paint as well as you do, with that sensibility, again, of a Matisse, where your balance works so well with your pattern against pattern and your color against color and your form against form, but the perspective and the balance is perfect. Because there isn't anything like it. I mean, there isn't anything like his work in America. Or have you seen it in Belgium? Or have you seen it in Holland? Or have you seen it in Paris?
If I'm being honest, I haven't seen it in my lifetime of painting. And it's a strange position to occupy. I'm not part of a movement.
No.
I'm just myself.
You are.
Plowing on through the turbulent seas of life.
Right, you know. And so
but you know, I think the good thing about being 60 as opposed to 40 is that I feel this is the path for me. I don't doubt that anymore. I don't doubt that, you know, I should be a different type of painter or anything else. I just feel this is my path, this is my destiny, if you like, to paint these pictures. I think the hope is that you will get one pebble nearer, one small step nearer finding the answer. I'm aware that painters late in their careers find a freedom that they often don't find when they're young. And I think painters freed from the need to make money or freed from any care about the material world, any feeling of where their place is in history, any need to be part of some august painting salon or society. As you get older, those things become pretty immaterial, and you can move more into that spiritual space. And so I hope, that's the hope really. I hope that as I grow older, my paintings will be freed from some of the restraints that might have held them back at earlier stages. In my next life, I would like to come back as a musician. In my mind, I'm coming back as Daniel Barenboim, doing it a whole thing, you know, performing with my instrument, but also conducting one of the world's greatest orchestras. But we have to see whether the Almighty feels, you know, generous, because you need a lot of talent and a lot of other things. Yeah.